I needed to listen back to my episodes because even if I thought it went poorly or I thought I didn't get the message across, because I would hear not only the things that went wrong where I could fix, but then I could also hear the brilliant pieces that came out of it.
Speaking of nailing your messaging, how did you prepare to really nail your messaging?
So I was not prepared for that when I first started. If you go back and you listen to, like the first few episodes that I ever did, oh, don't do that. Don't. They were too much, right? I wanted to give all the things for all the reasons and have all the info out there. And then there were some where I pulled way back because I was like, oh, I gave too much info last time. And my message was almost nothing because I pulled too far back. So going through all that, I would say probably about 40, around between 30 to 50 in, somewhere in there, I started to hit a stride where I knew what questions were going to be asked. I knew what people were thinking. I knew what the pulse was. But it did take me that many to go through to realize what are the questions people are asking. Because I could talk about social media all day. I could talk about websites all day. But it doesn't matter if it's not the questions that people actually have and it's not answering those questions. So once I got a few in and, then people started asking me for like the questions to ask me. They wanted me to give them questions to ask me. And I was like, no, I need you to ask me the questions. But yeah, I just think that the messaging part took me some time to find my way. But once I did, the rest of the 150 were just like sleepwalking for me. I mean, it was literally just, I could do it in my sleep. One time one of the people didn't do a video. And so it was just audio. So I literally sat in my office. I had a migraine and I just talked and I just, it was just like, I'm just going to do it because I have to. And I already signed up for this. But so it was just one of those things. It was such an autopilot thing and those episodes were some of my best ones. And even the episodes that I thought were horrible, like this one guy, I don't know what was happening that day, but it was off. We were both off. And I thought he was mad at me the whole time. It's just the way he was asking the questions. He just seemed really like put off by everything I said. And I was getting a little defensive because I was like, well, this is the way it is, and so then I listened back to that episode and we sounded amazing. I don't know. I guess just in my head, that's the way it sounded. So my other lesson was, from that was that I needed to listen back to my episodes because even if I thought it went poorly or I thought I didn't get the message across that I wanted to, especially in the beginning, I would listen to the episodes as they aired because I would hear not only the things that went wrong where I could fix, right? I could say, oh yeah, don't say that again, or don't use that example again. But then I could also hear the brilliant pieces that came out of it and go, that girl, you fine, girl, that's great. Like that's awesome. So, and kind of give myself a little pat on the back because when you're doing that many and you're kind of putting that out as a labor of love, you don't get paid for this part of it. It was very discouraging sometimes when I wouldn't hear anything or there wouldn't be any traction from it. But that really wasn't why I was doing it in the end. But at the same time, it can be, 30, 40, 50, 60 in. You're like, all right, is this going to work? Is this going to be a thing?
Yeah. Reps, man. Right. Like the value of getting reps in and being able to like iterate and get better and then put it on autopilot. And another thing that you are referencing is this idea of there's so much value in going back and re-listening. Like I used to never do it, right? Like I used to be like, nah, I'm not, it's kind of douchey. And then I started thinking about it differently. I started thinking about it like great athletes watch game tape, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go back and they look at their mistakes and they look at what they did well. And I have found so much value. And I heard Christopher Lockhead talking about how he re-listens to all of his podcasts. And if you don't like your own podcast, then go punch yourself in the face and stop making a podcast.
Super.